Welcome! I'm glad you're here. You're listening to Banjo Chat, where I bring in amazing banjo players and chat with them about their life, their music, their stories, their pitfalls, inspirations, and advice. So, join us on this journey into Banjo Chat. Hello, here we are. Welcome to the Banjo Chat. I'm your host, Hillary Hawk. It's Wednesday again, and here we are doing the thing, the Banjo Chat. It's like a Michelangelo painting. We're touching fingers to all the banjo enthusiasts out there. And we're here in New York City. I'm in New York City. We're in the never-ending winter months where we have a couple of false springs, a couple of almost snowfalls. We were being teased, but if you're from the East Coast, you're used to this sort of thing. It teaches us about life. Glad to be here. Always glad to be here. Heading into the recording studio this weekend and just had a wonderful rehearsal with the guys last night. Really great. Everyone had a lot to add. Everyone, I think, had their voices heard, and we worked on some original material that I've had for about a year. Everybody played their asses off, and I'm excited to record these songs and for you to hear them. But it made me think about you watch these artists who win the Grammy Awards, or the Golden Globe, Super Bowl, or, even just TikTok, and everything seems so big and produced, and many of those artists are just making money for other people, not just themselves. They're making money for other people, and they've sacrificed their personal lives, and they're out there, and they're in the machine of this music industry. So, I'm just waiting for the banjo to have its comeback into mainstream, No, I'm just kidding, obviously. I'm just kidding. I guess what I'm trying to say is, when I'm playing with my friends, they're so damn good. And I'm like, every one of them should be famous, like household name famous, rock stars. But we have to be realistic, folks. And there's a lot more to life than comparing yourself to standards that, include a heap ton of luck and X factors like money and et cetera, et cetera. So, I don't know. I've been doing some meditation now and and some journaling. I appreciate the person-to-person stuff, the connection, the good stuff. And when it comes to music, I like it done earnestly and when there's a lot of heart in it and even some risk-taking. I love that. So, all right. My guest today, she makes me excited about music. She's one of the most fun and inspiring musicians, writers, performers that I've been exposed to. She's attuned her lyrics and singing to reach the listener with a rare and rich sound that immediately draws you in. She's a finger-picking and clawhammer banjoist, songwriter, guitarist, singer, entertainer from Canada. She's singing in French, in the Chiac dialect. I'm probably saying that wrong. Chiac dialect. I believe that comes from the Acadian tradition as well as singing in English, and she'll tell you more about that. She's won many awards, including, and I'm just quoting Wikipedia here, 2 Felix Awards, East Coast Music Award, as well as being a certified platinum recording artist in Canada, nominated for the Juno Award and the SOCAN Award for Best Performer, and I'm sure there's more, and she's doing the work. I've wanted to have her on Banjo Chat for a while, and I tracked her down when she came to New York City. She's out on the road. She's been putting out music for the past 10 years, including 4 CDs, with the most recent being a Chiac disco CD, is rocking my world. Seemingly unafraid to reimagine themselves, she's a powerhouse, a badass. Welcome to the Banjo Chat, Lisa Leblanc.
Hi, Hillary. Wow, that's an incredible intro. Thank you.
It's a lot, right?
Yeah, all right.
I'm sweating.
Yeah,
I need to go smoke a cigarette.
It. Yeah, I feel the sweat. Thank you. Wow.
So where are you right now? Are you on the road? I know you've had a string of shows with some symphonies in Canada. Where are you?
Yeah, I just came back to the East Coast. I'm in Moncton, New Brunswick right now. I just came back from Quebec City. We had 2 symphony shows, which was absolutely incredible. 63 musicians on stage plus our band. It was just wild. So I'm still kind of on that high and just kind of like here for a couple weeks before doing another string of those shows in Montreal and then in Ottawa. So yeah, it's wild. I'm in that mode right now, like symphony show mode. It's crazy. Yeah.
I love that so much. So like, you're doing your music and then they arranged it for the full orchestra?
Yeah, we worked with an arranger that I really, really love, who worked on the last album, Chiac Disco, who did all the string arrangements and everything. So it was a really natural, coming together, and so he did all the show. So it was just, my first time working with an orchestra, and Wow.
That's so cool. And so like how did how did you book that gig where you're like, I'm gonna call up this club, and let's just talk to the symphony too.
Let's just talk to a symphony. It's been years in the making. Like symphony. It's such another game. And it's such another way of working. But I've been dreaming about this since the album came out, the last one, because it was very since we really imagined it with a lot of strings, a lot of like those crazy classical arrangements. It was a dream to like one day do it, and so we ended up like booking these are our last shows of the tour. Basically, we're ending with symphony shows, but it's been 2 years at least that we've been working on it. So it's crazy.
Well, congrats. That's really
Thank
awesome.
you.
And like I hope there's video of that. You know, or bring it to the States or something. I don't know.
God, yes, please, anytime.
Yeah, that's really cool. I can't wait to see that. That's like, that's amazing. You know, I've actually been to Moncton, New Brunswick before.
When? How?
I don't
Tell
even want to
me.
talk. I shouldn't even talk about this, but I had an ex. See, I'm talking about an ex immediately. I had an ex in college, and he did this like street fighting workshop in Moncton. And
Excuse me?
yeah. And I went, there's no way he's listening to this. Anyway, I went with him because I went to college in upstate New York, northern New York. I went to Potsdam, Crane School of Music, and we're close to the Canadian border, close to Montreal. And so he's like, he got this idea. He's going to go up and learn, I think it's called combat death fighting. And he learned it in Moncton.
Jesus.
And I went.
In Moncton?
Yeah.
Like, it's like the least dangerous place like that. I can even imagine to have like a death fighting workshop.
But maybe I know it's ridiculous.
Wow.
For the listeners at home, just so you know how far away Moncton is. Okay, so I'm in northern New York where I went to school, music, and that college is like 9 hours north of the city, and then of New York City, and to drive from Potsdam to Moncton, I think it was 21 hours.
Mm-hmm.
It was insane.
Yeah.
And I was like 21 years old, and it was ridiculous. And so I'm kind of skirting around when I first heard about you. Man, it's another ex. So my other ex, the best ex in the world, he played a show down in South by Southwest, like down in 2014. Mm-hmm. He was in a band, Nervous Cabaret, and he told me about you. He's like, I saw somebody playing banjo, and she played this version of Katie Cruel, or like, I'm not sure if he said Katie Cruel, but he was like, she was awesome. She was my favorite thing about South by Southwest. And I was like, awesome, cool. So I went online and I heard your version of Katie Cruel, and it was like a live version. And I was like, all right, this is pretty awesome. I was like, this is great. You were doing a combination of like finger picking and strumming. It was a little dirty, gritty. I love it, and I can't sound like that. Like, I've always wanted to bridge that gap with my banjo playing, but like I'm a little too I'm like a little too clean sounding, and I really crave that sound that you're getting on Katie Cruel.
It's like such a mutt playing too. Like that, like, I'm so honored to hear that, like, because I've never learned like the proper methods. Like, I always try, like, I dabble in bluegrass finger picking, and I dabble in clawhammer, but it's basically like a mutt kind of finger picking strumming that I just kind of eventually figured out because I was a big fan of finger picking on guitar, so tried to kind of work it around a little bit with banjo and just kind of seeing it really so it's just developed this kind of style that was like I guess survival.
Wow. So you were playing guitar first before banjo.
Yeah.
And then are you playing mostly electric when you play guitar?
No,
or
a bit of
acoustic?
both. This last tours I've been playing mostly electric. I was just kind of more in that vibe.
Yeah, it's like a different animal.
Yeah.
So I gotta ask, what kind of banjo are you playing?
Oh my god, like, I can't believe this is like, my banjo is like the cheapest possible banjo. I think I got it like for $200 or something, like in like 15 years ago. It's an Austin banjo, like those like kind of crappy 70s guitars. There was like the Austin brand. Well, that's my main banjo, and it's been my main banjo for years. So it's really nothing fancy, but I just really love the tone of it. I still do. There's like I tried so many, and this I just keep coming back to it. But yeah, it's like a very inexpensive, like cheap banjo that I wrecked through the years.
So, are you using any pedals on stage with the banjo, or are you like going through sounds, or?
Yeah, well, it's very basic. Like I just use a Strymon Iridium for like which is an amp simulator, which really helps me. I really like the tone of it, and I think it's yeah. You're writing it down.
Don't watch me. Don't watch me.
Oh God, it's really helped me. I've been playing for years with the banjo, and it was always like, especially playing with like a rock band with a banjo, and it was always feeding. And it's just, yeah, well, we're talking banjo. Everybody knows, like, if you're if you're plugged in for the pickups don't really sound awesome, and then you just feedback forever. So this really helped. It's like an electric. I have an electric guitar kind of banjo pickup. I kind of forget what it was, but I can look into it. And the Strymon Iridium, so it really helps me get more volume, and I like the tone. So for now, that's what I'm using, and I'm starting to experiment a little bit with the HX Stomp, which is also an amp simulator with the impulse responses that you can. They're really great for acoustic guitar. We just used them on these last shows, and yeah, I'm very amp simulator lately.
That's awesome.
Yeah, for live, and I love it. So it's been working really good. So I'm gonna start exploring for like the banjo impulse responses for that. But for now it's the Iridium that works well.
Yeah, it's strange. Like the banjo, when it gets on stage, in my experience, it gets lost in the other sound. If you have drums or electric bass, like it just gets lost if you don't have something to boost the sound, or even like a volume boost or something. Like it gets lost, and you're like, all right, and you're just standing up there waving your arms. So
yeah,
it's
you're
good
like
to have that.
Nice little decoration.
Yes,
you're like a nice lamp.
Yes, exactly. So, just asking about your pickup, I know you said you're not sure, but is it on the banjo head, or is it under the bridge?
It is under the bridge, I think.
Oh, okay.
No, sorry. It's one of those magnetic pickups.
Okay.
That like attach to the rod.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just forgot what it is, but yeah, I can look into it.
Yeah, I don't have that one, so yeah, I'll have to check out some examples of that too. That's cool.
It's helped me a lot. Yeah. I'm like, I finally have a setup that like doesn't make me lose my mind. I'm so happy.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, that's what I love that about you as an artist. You're a performer, you're a great entertainer. You're not just standing up there hoping that someone is listening to your songs. You're like reaching out and grabbing the audience, and generally you're exciting and charismatic to watch. And
thank you.
And I don't know if this is getting too personal. Here we go. But I like how you make eye contact from the stage. And do you ever think about that stuff? Like, how you go to like a music conference and there's always a workshop that's like, here's how you connect with your audience, and you sit there and they're like, you need to make eye contact with your audience. Like, did you ever think about that, or like,
yes.
Yeah.
I've been really fortunate to have like really awesome teachers. I didn't do like school of music, but at one point I went to this kind of like college that was like basically a songwriting college, like everything to be a singer-songwriter kind of in a one package, which is in Quebec. It's a French school, and in that school we had a lot of workshops with a woman that I really love called Marie-Claire Séguin, who was really working on interpretation and like connection and what are you doing, like kind of more of a theater approach almost, to just kind of like, what are you doing with your body? Like when you're, and like what's the point of you singing? And like she had these exercises where it's like, if you look super angsty, maybe she would give you like a chord or something that you needed to hold, or you needed to, anyway, very theater style exercises, but they really helped out. And I've been like drilled ever since, in a lot of workshops and a lot of just seeing other people. I guess my favorite artists are the ones that connect the most with the crowds, that are very sensitive to that are very generous. So I just try to do it as well. And to me, there's something in my favorite parts of the shows are when you see people in the crowd and you have like some kind of cool connection, not too much, like not creepy, like there's a fine line too, like, but like there's something to be said about seeing reactions of people. And also it also like helps me chill out too, to see like what's going on, and what the reactions of people are. Sometimes you see beautiful things happen, sometimes you see people laughing or crying even, or just being like mesmerized, or like being totally bored, or like, it's like there's like that's for me is like the magic of shows, and like that like very intricate awesome connection between the crowd and the singer and the band in general, not just the singer, just like the whole ensemble. It's like I've always been intrigued by it. I've always been really passionate about it. So yeah, for me, it's extremely important, all that connection.
You're like one of the first people I've ever heard talk about this, and
really,
yes, like
whoa, I've been drilled. My brain has been so drilled with it. It might be like a French thing too. I think it's a very French thing. So like, I feel like there's like these singers that are like from Quebec and like France. I think it's like really the French influence of like the singers, the divas, like the Edith Piaf and like whatever, Jacques Brel and all like these like 40s, 50s, 60s singers. There is which looked a lot more like theater, where it was like, giving to the crowd and being in the present moment and being an interpret the song. So I guess it's a very French thing, actually. You see it instantly when you like cross over to say Ontario or whatever, like the English bands. It's a different kind of approach, but yeah. It's just an interesting thing, I guess.
No, but it's great because it's like when I'm performing and I look out in the audience, like if I don't make that eye contact, it's more like I'm in my own self, like my insecurity. Like if I'm just singing and I'm like, playing and not looking at the audience or connecting, I feel like I feel more insecure for some reason.
Yeah.
And if I actually connect with someone in the audience, and even if they're like slightly looking away from me and they're like on their phone,
yeah,
at least I'm like, it's not all about me. Like it's
you're seeing the big picture of like,
yes,
because not everyone's gonna be like completely transfixed by you. That's what we'd like. That's like
yes.
That's like the my hopes and dreams, like that everybody would be completely in awe as soon as I come on stage, but that's not always what's gonna happen. And there's something fun about it too. It's like, and it's all stuff that you like kind of get, and like, okay, this is part of what's going on. And also like a lot of like people look what's going on too. It's like, okay, what's the drummer doing right now? Like, what's this light doing? Whatever. Oh, there's like, I don't know. Oh, what's the crowd looking? Oh, maybe there's someone cute in the corner. I don't know. It's like, it's not just all about the singer all the time. So it's a whole thing. It's fun.
And it makes you feel less important. Like the small things you do on stage, they don't really matter because there's a whole like other thing going on. Like, like your bra strap falls down and you have to pick it back up. And you're like, nobody cares. Nobody's looking at that. But I think if you're not connecting, that feels like a huge disaster, like when you're on stage,
I feel like as soon as you're comfortable, everybody knows it. And as soon as you're uncomfortable, everybody knows it even more. Like, it's a really like you feel like as a public like as a crowd when you go see a show, if someone isn't like well in their body or like is a bit awkward, you'll know it like instantly, and it makes the crowd awkward. So you just kind of have to not care in a way and just kind of like, like fake it till you make it is like, it's super typical to say, but it really is so true. And you just kind of have like, all right, what can my body language say at least, or just like have a few things that will help just kind of like put you like in a cool little grounded space where at least you feel comfortable and like I'm just kind of going on a tangent there, but
No, no, I
yeah,
get it, but
it's
it's like, how do you break the ice? Like you go out there, it's tense. How do you break the ice? Like do you like throw the paint on the wall? Like how do you just like make it comfortable? It's like
you start with a bang.
Yeah.
Yeah. You start with a bang. Your intro is like one of the most important parts of your show, and it's like you have one chance to make that first impression, and it's not by like going on stage tuning, not talking for
Yeah.
2 minutes that'll like make you look like a rock star. It's like
Yeah.
sometimes we're like we joke about it with the band, and it was like should we be there during the house message, and our guitar solo is like, do you think David Bowie would be there when the house message is on? And we're like, true. So it's what would David Bowie do kind of thing, but it's just like it's those like there's like these key moments that can really help just kind of like start your show right, like get people's attention, and like just like kind of you own it, you own that first tune, and then like you have a solid base to start. You try to either you surprise people, or you just at least come in with confidence and like start your show.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. I mean, sometimes I envision like a person, I'm like a role model. Like sometimes I think of like a celebrity or somebody that I admire, and I'm like, I like how they do this. Like David Bowie, you're saying.
Yeah.
I have like I love Annie Lennox, so like I'm always thinking, like I've said this before on here. I'm like, there's something about Annie Lennox. I like Annie Lennox, and I think about like her stage presence, or like Chrissy Hind or somebody like that. Like that's like a powerful female presence, and I'm like, yeah, they're freaking awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's good. It's cool to kind of not necessarily study, but I guess study or like just watch what they do and get like take inspiration from the people that you see like doing killer shows or killer performances. You just kind of mimic for a good while.
Yeah. And I mean, we're talking about banjo here, folks. Like this is what we're talking about.
Oh yeah, this is a banjo chat.
This is a banjo chat.
Yeah.
So I do want to ask, do you think of the banjo as like a tool to convey your songs, or do you ever try to blend in some American folk elements, or have you been influenced by like the traditional style of banjo, or traditional style in Chiac, or French Canadian, anything like that?
Yeah, it's like a big it's a big melting pot of a lot of different influences. I actually grew up, there's a really great bluegrass festival in my hometown in New Brunswick called Rogersville. The Rogersville Bluegrass Festival. They're very like traditional bluegrass, and it's an awesome festival. And I grew up, it was in my backyard, and I hated bluegrass when I was a teenager, because for me it was like I don't know, I was like I was more of like a classic rock kid, and a middle kid when I was like in my teens, so I had absolutely no interest in bluegrass whatsoever. And then but I went to the bluegrass festival because it was just kind of like the party place, but so ended up kind of like hearing it a lot. And then when I moved away from Rogersville and from my hometown and went to Montreal, I started missing home. And so then the banjo kind of became like, and bluegrass and country and everything became kind of like a nostalgic thing. And I started listening to it more, and I had a banjo. I bought the banjo. that's kind of like how it started for me. And then I actually went to that bluegrass festival as a fan and started learning about it and being in awe of all these incredible musicians that were in my hometown, that are all hobby musicians, that are just killer bluegrass cats. And so that's kind of, and got really mentored by a few of those. My banjo teacher really like took me under his wing, and just kind of like showed me the ropes and showed me some bluegrass bands, and like, okay, what albums should you listen to? And that's kind of like what so it was a really like very welcoming place. And that's kind of where my whole love affair with all the bluegrass, and then discovering more of the clawhammer style. Went to the States for a few road trips for a couple months, did the Black Pot Camp in Louisiana, which was a total eye-opener, and there where I discovered old time and delved more into Cajun music. And then I had my banjo all the time, so I just kind of like brought it everywhere with me and took classes, went to Asheville, took some classes, and just kind of discovered what a gourd banjo was. I had no idea. Like, oh, okay, cool, you can have a fretless, what? Okay, cool. Like, just kind of like discovering all of this cool stuff about banjo, and it's not done. Like, it's still like there's so much to learn. But yeah, I'm still I still want to go back to the US and do some more camps for sure, because it was like one of the best weeks of my life at Black Pot Camp.
Yeah, it is amazing. And I don't know if I'm saying, am I saying Chiac wrong? Is it
Chiac? No, you got it. Yeah,
Chiac.
It's perfect.
And Chiac, the music, some of the music that's on your albums, it sounds a little Cajun to me. Like it has, I mean, because the New Orleans, like the Louisiana sound is like French influence. So I don't know if there's a connection there, or like, is there a connection?
There is, yeah. It's so basically Acadians and Cajuns are from the same place. Like Cajuns were Acadian, and then they said Cajun, and then the English called them Cajun, and it's kind of like how Cajuns came to be Cajuns.
It's the same word.
It is, yeah.
Oh,
so,
man.
Yeah, we're all from the East Coast, and so like Acadian history, I'll try to make it really brief, but essentially like the first like French settlers went to like the East Coast of Canada, Nova Scotia, New Brunswick, PEI, and after wars with the English, whatever, got deported. So everybody families separated, everything, like super tragic, like of course, like every history, super tragic history, got deported all over the place. So basically a lot of Acadians went to Maine, a lot of the East Coast US, and a bunch went to Louisiana, since it was like the French, it was owned by France at that time. A lot of people went back to France, and anyway, so it's kind of like, that's a very, like, historians would be like, ugh, hearing me right now, but this is like a very short, like you can look into it a bit more if it interests you. There's plenty of
I'm here for
information, but anyway, so that's kind of how the whole Acadian Cajun, so like the fiddle music from France that went to New Brunswick, that just kind of like became the fiddle music from the East Coast, of course went to Louisiana, was the same people, but then got influence with everything that was going on too in Louisiana, like all their history and all the Creole influence, Spanish influence, so it's like it's really interesting to see how very similar it is from Acadia of the North to go to Louisiana and see family traits that are very similar. It's weird. Like a lot of people look like my cousins or like my aunts and uncles, and it's the same family names. There's a bunch of Leblancs in Louisiana, so it's interesting for a person like me to go to Louisiana and see all of these like similarities and yet differences between the two people, but kind of coming from the same place. So it's really cool. And I went to Lafayette especially a lot because of the whole like more like Cajun music that I really really love. Um, and yeah, so that's kind of like the connection there. But yeah, I was really inspired for a while. Still am by Louisiana music.
Yeah, there's so much. There's a rich history. I mean, especially with just the banjo. It's one of the, you could go on forever and ever with the history of it, and
Yeah.
and just keep learning from it. It's the most fascinating. It's one of the most fascinating instruments I've ever played or learned about. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's really cool. You're delving into it like through your background and through Louisiana. That's amazing.
Yeah.
So yeah, let's take a little listen to your music. Everybody go check out Katie Cruel online. We're not going to listen to that here because you can go find it online, and I love it. And enough of you out there like that song already. And so let's listen to some of your original stuff. So I'm going to start with a tune called "Et Cher." Here we go.
Cher, t'es resté trop longtemps, t'es resté une miette de trop, puis ça a tué le mystère. Hey, Cher, you stayed here too long, you've overstayed your welcome, and now it's time to go. Now it's time to go. Hey, Cher, c'est pas que je t'aime pas, mais trop c'est comme passé, laisse-moi le temps de m'ennuyer. Hey, cher, you know that I love you, but if you don't leave soon, I just might have to kill you. Hey, cher, it might be time to hit that dusty trail.
All right, that was "A Cher," and I love how you're singing in French or French Canadian, and then you're switching to English. Like I didn't even know what was happening when I was first listening to it.
Cool.
I was like, yeah, this is great, and I understand it now, and now I don't understand it. Like,
Yeah.
it's like it just kind of went through, and it feels like it's got this like looming message, even though I just feel like the vibe of it is very like strong, and it's like almost like a betrayal kind of sound, and I like it, and it's got the Cajun feel to it as well. Like it's very.
Yeah, that was like a that was Black Pot Camp inspired 100%. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it was like the very my Cajun phase for sure. Yeah.
That's
you
so
can hear
cool.
it very well.
Yes,
But it's cool. It was a yeah, a big influence for me at the time, so I just kind of went with that vibe that I was really inspired by at the moment.
Yeah, and it's like all of your banjo tunes on your albums. This is from the album. All the songs we're listening to are from "Why You Want to Leave, Runaway Queen." It's your second album, I think, that you made.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they're all really different. Like your banjo playing on all the songs is really different and really like that's why I was saying, do you kind of like use it as a tool, because I feel like you're very expressive with it, and you really try to like carve it around what you're saying. It's not everybody can do that. Some people just sound the same no matter what they do, and it's really cool.
Thanks. Yeah, I always try to do something different, I guess, with it. I get bored really easily too of either same style. Like I get phases. Like I would say that was my Cajun phase for sure. This the last album was a disco phase, very much so. No banjo whatsoever. Actually, I took a break from it completely. And now I'm kind of more into experimenting it with a lot of different styles too, just trying to see. That's kind of what I'm into right now. I kind of like I'm rediscovering the banjo a little bit and trying to fit it in places that maybe we don't hear as much. It's always kind of been that thing for me with the banjo. It's like, how can I make it sound different than what I've heard before? And I think since it's such a niche instrument, like there's not like 2 million banjo players, like you know, there's something that's kind of like anything kind of goes. You can really do whatever you want with it, and you can explore. And as soon as you get out of like the like traditional channels, you can do something completely new. And that to me is like the most inspiring thing. Whereas guitar, I'm like, whatever. So many people can play way better than me, and like I don't feel like I'm doing anything that's like groundbreaking or anything. But on the banjo, I'm like, oh, there's so many possibilities. So it's really inspiring. And it was the same thing with Chiac, my accent that I use in French. It's like, oh, this hasn't been used in this kind of style, so this is fun. Like this is inspiring, and that's kind of what keeps me going creatively.
Yeah, no, I think sometimes the traditional element, especially with banjo, it can hold you back. Like I feel like if you're trying to always fit into that niche in that box, like you can remove the creativity or remove the exploration from what you want to do because you're trying to do something, you know?
I mean, everybody has different playing techniques or what, you know, what they want to do with the instrument. And I think like anything goes, right? Like I love the traditional banjo playing. I love it so much. And so it's not like, I think there's nothing that's better than the other, really. It's just like what inspires you, just do whatever. So
no, I love that, and I can hear that in your music. So let's take a listen to another one. This was released as a single. It's called Dump the Guy ASAP. Oof. Here we go.
Oh, God.
So when you talk about him, then tell me the things that he tells you and the stuff he pulls off. The red flags are a popping, the alarms are ringing. I can't say I'm his number one fan. You call me to rant, and it's totally fine. We've both seen each other's ugly cry. It's none of my business, but it kinda is, 'cause you talk to me about it all the time. And I understand
It's not my favorite.
So yeah,
It's not my favorite song I've written. Let's just say.
okay.
I've written some better ones.
The thing about this song, is that like I listened to all your songs. I like there's so many. Your whole album is great songwriting, but this song, as soon as I heard it, I sent it to my friend who's going through a tough situation, and I sent it to her, and like this is when I first like took the deep dive into your music. It was like the first song that I sent to somebody, and I was like, yeah, it's real, and it's like so honest and authentic, and I feel like I really got to know, like you feel like I can really feel your personality, or like know you as like your heart or something.
Thank you.
Your soul, like yeah, and as simple as a song, and it's kind of cute like song. I just think it does what a song needs to do, and it reaches people. It's
Thank you.
you know. Yeah, and the banjo playing's fun, and I think it's like, how often do you get to play like this kind of like Caribbean sounding
Bossa Nova banjo.
Bossa Nova, yes, yeah, and I just as an example of your style, because we're building up to the Ace of Spades
good. I
here.
can redeem myself.
So, yeah, and you know, before we go into the hard rock, you know, you do have this rock, and I'm trying to everybody go listen to Lisa Leblanc, everybody, because the spectrum of what you're doing on these albums is amazing, and like you know, you're just killing it. So let's check out Ace of Spades, and specifically because I'm a big nerd, let's listen to the banjo solo section, because I like what you're playing over the chords. Like it's not a sound that I would have expected, and it's rocking out, and it's great. Let's check it out. Okay, here we go. Here we go.
You know I'm born to lose, and gambling is for fools. But that's the way I like it, baby. I don't wanna live forever. And don't forget the Joker.
It's so awesome. I love it so much. It's great. You're just like unafraid playing, hitting that fifth string. It's great. Did you like have any like thoughts about that like arrangement of it or anything? Or how'd that come about, Ace of Spades?
It came as a joke at first. I'm a big fan of the song. I was saying earlier, I used to be a big metalhead in my teens.
Is it Motorhead?
That's Motorhead. So I'm a big Motorhead fan, and all my band at the time were also all like metalheads as well. Like we listened to a lot of old Metallica and like Megadeth and Motorhead in the touring band, and so this one kind of came about like kind of randomly as a kind of joke, whatever, being bored somewhere on the road and being like, oh, this is actually like very playable. It's not that complicated, like, and I just kind of started to wing it on the banjo, and then we just kind of tried it at one point, like during a show, and it was like, dude, this is great. And so we just kind of kept on, it just stuck. I'm a big fan of the tune, so it just kind of like came very naturally. And and the banjo solo is just like a very like in your face, obnoxious, like, let's learn a roll and make a banjo solo with it. Whatever. So no, it's fun. But I think for me, like, in my heart is always a rock and roll fan, and to me it's like what kind of like always pushes me forward. I love the energy of it. I've always loved it. It's kind of like where everything kind of goes back to that, to like that rock, and just I wanted to do punk rock banjo. So, and I did it a bit more like in the EP that came out before that album where Katie Cruel is, and there's like a song called You Look Like Trouble and whatever, which is more like just like banjo rock and roll. But I love that kind of style. It's fun. I love playing it live. It's super fun. I can headbang with a banjo and jump around. It's awesome. It's great.
Yeah, and that's the Highways, Heartaches, and Time Well Wasted album.
EP.
That's great. EP. Yeah, that one is awesome.
Yep.
So good.
Thank you.
So I've gotten this, and when I was listening to, because, I've been listening to music for the past week, when I was listening to Ace of Spades, every morning I would, like, listen to, like, another track, and I was, like, doing yoga while I was listening to Ace of Spades. And I'm like, what am I actually doing here? I'm, like, trying to stretch and, like, breathe.
It's metal yoga. Yeah, it's a thing.
It's that's what I do. I don't know.
Yeah.
We're all paradoxes. We're all like, what are we doing? But I've gotten this question a couple times from listeners, and it's always hard for me to answer. But do you have, as we're wrapping up the banjo chat here, do you have any advice for people that are singing and playing an instrument? How do you do it? Did it come easy for you? Do you work on your songs first with a guitar and then switch it to banjo? How do you work that in?
I mean, it's the advice is just do it. You just have to practice and do it. And if you play, try singing like as soon as you can. That's kind of how I started with guitar. And writing for me with banjo, I write with it first. If it's a banjo song, it's written on the banjo. If it's a guitar song, it's written on the guitar. Unless there's like more interesting things to like kind of you can transition, but it's kind of like, to me, they're like different tools, and my brain works in a different way when I work with either or whatever instrument it's gonna be. But so just it's as boring as an answer as you just gotta practice.
No, that's great. So, like as a songwriter, how do you stay focused and advice for people? How do you stay focused and unafraid with some of the messages you want to say in your music? Like, how do you stay true to yourself and like, kind of going forward? How do you stay true to what you're doing? I guess in any respect, not just songwriting, like just being on stage and performing and.
I think it's just like do what you really love to do, and just kind of like if there's something that makes you unique, go into that, it's not like I'm not the first person to say that either. It's not like a groundbreaking advice, but it's just kind of like whatever makes you unique, just push on it, because that's what people are gonna be interested by, and it's your way of playing, it's your way of seeing things, it's your way of writing things. So yeah, and I think also like if you think you can kind of like push yourself to do something different, or do it, listen to a bunch of stuff, go see shows, if that's like, I think whatever you want to do, surround yourself by it and just see what's going on around you, what people are doing that you like, what you can borrow from that. But you just have to surround yourself by it. And for songwriting, it's like, I don't know, there's no, I don't know, I'm not like, I don't know, just on the top of my head like that, I don't have like the best advice, because I'm always looking for advice too. So I don't know if I can give it that well.
I think you're saying like you tweak it, like if you have you look for ways to make something better, and and don't be afraid to try something new that might make it harder but might also make it better. Like keep your vision and then keep I don't know, molding it or making things, tweaking it.
And try to surpass yourself.
Yes,
all the time. I think it's like, that's a cool thing to do, and when it flows, it, like when it's easy, that's where like things should go. That's what I think. It's like when it feels good and it's like, this is really fun, I feel like that's probably the thing to do.
Yeah.
But if you're pushing and pushing and pushing and it's just like not everything is going against you, maybe change like what you're doing, like, or try something else. I'm not like a whole career change. I mean, like songwriting wise, it's like try to find inspiration. What makes you have fun and then you'll be writing songs. Yes,
I love it. Well, and you're obviously having fun on stage, and you make an audience have fun, and we're enjoying ourselves.
Thank you.
I saw you down at the Groove in New York City, and with the Chiac Disco album and show, and it was so fun. You're playing a triangle. You're playing guitar. You're dancing. It's the whole show. And I have an aunt and uncle up in London, Ontario. They live in Canada, and so I'm sending your music up to them, and
cool.
I'm spreading the word and hoping that you come down again and to the US.
Yeah, I'd love to.
And no, I'm so excited to have you on here. It's been like a joy listening to your music this past week. So.
But thanks so much for having me.
Yeah.
It's not every day that I get to talk about banjo.
No,
it never happens. I think this is the first time I get interviewed about banjo.
You're
doing it. Exciting.
You're doing it successfully too. You're successfully doing it well and playing in symphonies. And I mean, is there anything else you want to add about banjo in your life or anything?
No, I think it's just like banjo is so cool.
That's what I was going for. That's the quote.
Banjo is so cool, guys. like.
All right. Well,
thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you for being on the show, and thank you everybody for listening. If you have questions, comments, come on, anything you want, just email us at banjochatpodcast@gmail.com, and you can follow us on Instagram at banjochat. All right. See you next time. Bye. If you'd like to support the Banjo Chat podcast, check out our new Patreon page at patreon.com/banjochat. Also, give us a like, a review, and subscribe, and that'll help boost it along so we can keep making these for you. Thanks.